and our third Heritage Live discussion. Today we've got Aaron Ross back in the hot seat to talk about a destination that's close to his heart, part of Heritage Expedition's history, and the first inhabited place in the world to be greeted by the morning sun. Sorry, Gisborne. And one he's recently returned from, the Chatham Islands. Welcome back, Aaron, and thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Great, thanks Isaac. Great to be back in the hot seat again.
Indeed. Now, is this the Chatham Islands tan you're rocking at the moment?
It is a little bit actually, yeah. No, nothing like a few sunny days on the Chathams.
Excellent. Oh, well, I'm sure we'll hear about that later. As always, fire over any questions and we'll pick them up at the end. Right, let's get our Q&A on. So for those that are not familiar with the Chatham Islands, whereabouts are they located? And how has that geographic location benefited the area?
So the Chathams lie to the east of the South Island of New Zealand. They're at 44 degrees south. You've actually got islands out there called the 44s after the latitude, and their latitude means and their location means that they are at the meeting point between the sort of the colder southern waters coming up from the subantarctic, from the Southern Ocean, and also those warmer waters coming down from the north. You've got the Chatham Rise that runs right out from the coast of the South Island all the way through, and the Chatham Islands is part of that. So incredibly rich marine environment around the Chatham Islands, which is a big part of the story of the Chathams, and close enough to the mainland of New Zealand that historically over time we've had all these species which have become endemic that have been able to make their way out to the Chathams.
Okay, and how many islands are we talking?
Well, good question. There's a lot of islands within the Chatham Islands, but in terms of the main islands in the group, you have the largest of them all, Chatham Island, and Pitt Island, which are the two inhabited islands, and then there's the smaller outlying islands, and a lot of those outlying islands are the really most significant in terms of the marine environment and from a conservation point of view. Currently, as refuge islands, and so you've got islands like the Sisters and the 44s, both of which have breeding albatross on them. There's Mungary and Southeast, both of which are home to the black robin these days. The Pyramid and the Star Keys, again, these smaller offshore islands that are predator-free and refuge islands, where we hopefully will be able to see species moving from back to the main islands and the inhabited islands in due course.
Sounds awesome. So what are we likely to see during the visit, wildlife-wise?
Wildlife-wise, so there's a number of species that are land birds, so things like the Chatham Island pigeon, there's the Chatham Island warbler, there's two endemic species of shag on the Chatham Islands, so there's the Chatham Island shag and the Pitt Island shag, and there's an oyster catcher that's an endemic species as well, and then you start getting into the seabirds around the coast, and a number of endemic species of seabird, including things like the taiko, which we'll get onto, and then no doubt talk about some more. The Chatham albatross, there's the Chatham petrel, and some of those smaller offshore islands have the home to species like the black robin and the tomtit and the Forbes parakeet. There's the shore plover there as well. So a really great a range of species that are found nowhere else.
So like chock full of wildlife, essentially, these little islands.
The little islands and parts of the Chathams, the main Chatham Islands as well, with a great diversity of species that you'd recognise as being related to New Zealand, but have evolved to live just in the Chathams, or evolved to life in the Chathams and become endemic. And the Chathams definitely has its challenges in terms of introduced species, as mainland New Zealand does as well. But where the species occur either on those offshore islands or in areas where there's been predator control and pest control work going on, we're seeing some great abundance of bird life.
That's amazing. So looping back to the most famous of that roll call of birds, the Chatham Island black robin, how did things get so dire for this little bird that it got down to just 5 individuals?
So the story for the black robin's a long and convoluted one. Originally, it would have been widespread across all of the islands in the Chathams that were forested, and over time, as introduced species have come into the main Chatham Islands and onto to Pitt Island, things like cats. Luckily, there's no mustelids out in the Chathams, but cats. There's possums on the main Chatham Islands, and so they've pushed the range of those black robin were pushed back and back. Habitat loss has also impacted on them. They were very much a bird of the forest, till eventually they only occurred on Little Mungary, which is just one of the small of those offshore islands. And on the top of Little Mungary, there's a small patch of forest, and that was the last refuge for the black robin. And then that patch of forest began to get some degradation, as there'd been some damage with helicopters looking to land on the island, because that's the only easy way to get ashore. So habitat degradation was the sort of the final straw for them, as the population then started to drop right away to down to
5 birds.
Just the 5 birds and one breeding pair. So one fertile female, 3 males and an infertile female.
Yeah, but all was not lost. So this leads us to one of the world's biggest conservation efforts that your father was involved in, Rodney Russ, one of the founders of Heritage Expeditions. How did he and his team go about bringing this tiny bird back from the brinks of extinction?
Yeah, so I mean, Rodney. Some of the earliest work that Rodney did in conservation was out on the Chatham Islands. He worked with the Wildlife Service, which was in charge with protecting rare and endangered birds, and so they launched a program. It was led by Don Merton and Brian Bell. Rodney cut his Zodiac driving teeth, moving black robin around the
skills he uses for these days.
Exactly. Nowhere better to learn Zodiac driving than moving a critically endangered bird around the Chatham Islands, and they hatched a plan which involved moving the last remaining breeding pair, particularly that female, and taking her from the degraded forest on Little Mungary. First of all, moving to the main island of Mungary, and then from there, as the population started to build up, also using the predator-free Southeast Island as well as a refuge for the black robin.
And that final female was the bird that everyone knows as Old Blue.
Old Blue. So yeah, she had a blue bands on her legs, hence the name.
Right,
And
so that's where that came from.
That's where it came from, and all black robin today are descended from that one female.
Amazing. She's been very productive.
She was. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have black robin today.
So I hear they fostered out the chicks to other species of bird, kind of like human cuckoos. That's sort of like a Secret Service level caper. How does that actually come about?
Well, I mean, it was really that fostering was Don Merton's brainchild in the first instance, and Don had some experience with fostering other species into other nests to allow them to be raised. And what became evident was if they left the black robin to their own devices, they simply weren't breeding enough. They weren't having enough chicks in a summer to get the population growth happening. By taking the eggs away from the original pair, giving them to tomtits as the main foster, the parent that they used, they were able to get the black robin pair to lay more eggs, bring them back chicks, take the eggs away, and so effectively just get the population growth moving faster, but a huge amount of coordination to make that happen successfully.
And not spooking the birds and
exactly, and a cooperative bird with Old Blue that allowed that to happen. Leave a couple of eggs and come back to some large chicks that are about to fledge and carry on from there.
So looping back to your dad, Rodney must have been a gold mine when it came time for you and your brother to do school projects. Did you get many A's off the back of some of his stories?
Oh, I don't know. Well, yeah, well, definitely. I mean, it was to grow up with those stories and that sort of and hearing about what he had done and knowing the people that he'd worked with and stuff was definitely a gold mine. I'd have to say we should teach conservation more in schools. It would help me get more A's.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean that knowledge and background was a really underpinned what I did throughout my education.
Excellent, and beyond.
And beyond, exactly. Yeah, to this day.
And so the Chatham Islands also has another famous conservation story with the Chatham Island tyco, or magenta petrel. So this was a species that was thought to be extinct, and then
and then it was rediscovered by Davy Crockett and his team. So the thinking is that Chatham Island taiko or magenta petrel was once widespread across the Chatham Islands. Again, with all those forces impacting on it, the predators, the habitat loss, its population had dropped right down to a tiny remnant population on the south coast of the main Chatham Islands, and with a bit of luck and some intuition and a lot of hard work, Davy Crockett and his team were able to identify that there were in fact still these magenta petrel alive, and then in due course breeding, and the program's gone from there.
Can you tell us a bit about the program that's underway there?
Yeah, so what they've, the taiko breeds in the forest back in on the main island of the Chathams. The Tuanui family owns the land did own all the land through that area. They've donated some of that land now to conservation to ensure its long-term protection, and so between the Tuanui family, and a number of others that have been very involved in that program, starting with Davy Crockett, as the Bell family's been very involved as well, support from the Department of Conservation. They've worked to both protect the nests where they were surviving, those remnant nests, by doing intensive, particularly cat control, which protects the nesting sites, but also controlling the introduced weka, which predate the nests, and the pigs that are roaming through, wild pigs. So creating a reserve where they originally were still breeding, but also creating a new population out nearer the coast. So they've translocated chicks to that area, put in place predator-proof fencing around that remnant of forest, and they've now established a second successful breeding population for the taiko in that new and protected breeding site within the predator-proof fence, and that's allowed a slow but steady increase in the taiko population.
Excellent. So there's hope for the world's rarest seabird.
There's hope. There's still a lot of work to be done, and it's a commitment for the ages at the moment. But there's hope and there's potential there.
Particularly with all those predators still on the island with them.
Exactly. So the threat hasn't gone away, but we're headed in the right direction. It feels like.
So amazing wildlife, but the Chathams isn't all about the wildlife, is it? There's also some pretty impressive flora there as well.
Yeah, I mean, like the bird life, the fauna, the flora's also got all these really strong New Zealand mainland affinities, but has evolved to life in the Chathams. So things like there's the Asaphila, which is the Spaniard, so the prickly Spaniard from up in the mountains. It's made its way out, evolved to being on the Chathams. Chatham's species is no longer prickly. It's lost the spines. It's evolved to succeeding on.
User friendly.
It's a little bit more user friendly. You actually see it in the gardens in New Zealand quite commonly now. Of course, there's the Chatham Island forget-me-not, which is those great big leaves, so well evolved to the environment on the Chathams. A number of the tree species, the Olararias and the Brachyglottis, which are close relatives of mainland New Zealand, but again evolved to specifically to life in the Chathams.
Awesome. So there's also a rich human history there as well. Can you tell us a bit about that? Yeah,
the Chathams has a story of all of its own. The human history of the Chathams. So prior to sort of European arrival, there was the Moriori people that were living on the Chatham Islands that evolved into a lifestyle that really suited the Chathams, and probably the most well-known feature of that was that they were pacifists, so they didn't have a culture of internal conflict between the populations on the Chatham Islands. The next to and they'd lived there for centuries on the Chatham Islands. The next to arrive were Europeans, and they've created their own history, starting with the sealers and the whalers, becoming farmers, and a part of the story of the Chatham Islands. And then the third group to arrive were Ngāti Mutanga from the North Island, a Maori tribe that also became a part of the Chatham Island story. There's the story of how they became the dominant Polynesian group on the Chatham Islands, and there's a lot to delve into in that story. And today you have the Chatham Islands with those three distinct kind of histories all melding together, and the Chatham Island people that we know and love today.
Exactly, well, that was going to bring me to my next thing. Then there's the Chatham Islanders themselves. I hear they're a pretty conservation-minded and super friendly bunch of people. Obviously, you've told us that they're giving over their land to conservation as well. Are there other instances of that?
Yeah, I mean, the Chatham Islanders are fantastic people. They've had to live in and learn to survive and make the best of a pretty hostile environment. The passion for conservation is something that's definitely evolving and developing in the Chathams. They have a unique connection to the landscape and the wildlife of the Chathams through life out in the Chathams, the time they spend out on the water if they're fishing, the farmers with their farms and the protecting those remnants of the natural forest, and there's been some incredible success stories. So like the Tuanui family and their land on the south coast, and we're seeing more and more of those farmers and the landowners and the people of the Chatham Islanders really acknowledging what a gem they do have, and looking at ways in which they can continue and enhance the protection and bring back a lot of what the Chatham Islands used to have more of.
So it sounds like you would come away quite inspired by these people when you go there and meet them and see what they're doing, and maybe people could take some of that back home with them.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely come back inspired, and I think others travelling out there come back with an inspiration. I would love to think that they do as well, and also looking at ways in which we as New Zealanders can continue to support what's happening out on the Chatham Islands, because they are such a significant part of the New Zealand sort of biological story, that all New Zealanders should be part of the story of success, saving what the Chatham Islands has and helping to protect it.
Yeah. So earlier you touched on the outlying islands. From what I understand, they're quite remarkable. Can you tell us a bit more about them?
Yeah, the islands sort of around the Chatham Islands, those outlying islands, are really the refuge habitat for and refuges for so many of those particularly endangered species. They've often been the ones that haven't had as much human impact on them because they're smaller, they're more inaccessible. So the richness of the marine environment is brought home by those outlying islands. So visiting places like the Pyramid, where you've got literally thousands of Chatham albatross breeding, or the sisters in the 44s with the Northern Royals and the Bullers, those incredibly significant conservation islands of Mangere and South East, really just brings home the whole story of the Chatham Islands as a group of islands.
Yeah, and outlying, how outlying are they?
So they're all very much part of the Chatham Islands. They're within sight of, on a clear day, you can see all of those outlying islands, but they're also not very easy to access otherwise. So unless you have an expedition ship, they're quite hard to get to and connect those outlying islands with the main island. The islands are sort of spread particularly in the south and east of the main Chatham Island, but by moving by sea, you're able to really explore and experience the full beauty and richness of those outlying islands as well.
So for that full Chatham Island experience, you really need to have the water.
I think so.
You need a vessel like Spirit of Enderby, I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong with the Spirit of Enderby, can you? It's the perfect tool to get out and explore those marine environments.
Excellent. So you've obviously been to the Chatham Islands many times. Do you have like a favourite experience that you can tell us about?
I've actually worked out the other day. I've been going to the Chatham Islands for 30 years now. It's a place that I've always really enjoyed seeing and spending time in and appreciating. Lots of great memories from the Chathams. One was actually for the dawn of the new millennium. Heritage had a voyage where we were out at Pitt Island at the dawn of the new millennium, and we spent the night. We had an event ashore on Pitt Island, and then sailed out into the sunrise, and
So essentially, the first to see the sun.
First to see the sun. Yeah. No, Spirit of Enderby was right there.
Christening in the new millennium. And so, maybe finally, what's one thing you could tell us that might surprise people about the Chatham Islands?
Ooh, might surprise.
Probably surprised the hell out of them already.
Yeah, I don't know. What would one thing that would surprise people more than everything else? But I think the whole islands are just such a gem. They're an amazing place. They're a real privilege to be able to see and experience. And I think it's the total package of the Chathams, which is what I would say should be the lasting memory if you are lucky enough to see and explore them.
Okay, excellent. Well, there you have it, folks. Another awesome adventure and place to put on your bucket list. I think we will have a look to see if we've got any questions over here. So let me have a quick look. I believe there are questions. I just need to... So I've got people watching, but I have got no comments at this stage.
There we go. Maybe we've answered all the questions. Everyone's so excited about the Chathams. They're already ringing the team and signing up to join the next voyage.
Definitely. If you do have any questions, continue to post them. We cannot see them here at this end. So we will answer them if you have any. Okay, well, I guess thank you so much for your time again.
Yeah, well, thank you for everyone for joining us. And if you're keen, then we're looking forward to being out in the Chatham Islands in the coming very soon.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, no, next month we'll be out there with the Spirit of Enderby and exploring around the Chathams.
Those outlying islands.
Exactly, and the main island, all the best bits of the Chatham Islands.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, well that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed yourself and you're inspired to come and join us in the Chathams. Until next time, safe travels.
Great. Thank you very much.
Oh, and someone did just... people are...
Yeah, I just saw it pop up as you were signing off. Have we actually ended it?
We have. It's still running. Yeah, it's in there.
It says if you end this live video now, are you sure it's still?
Oh my god.
I don't know, I'm asking you.
Okay, just push cancel and we'll answer the questions. Yeah?
Right.
And we're still here, and we can now see your questions. So luckily we didn't go away, or you didn't go away. Right, here we go. Wayne White is saying, what is the best time of year to visit?
So, I mean, there's really no bad time of the year to visit the Chathams, but I think, I mean, you really want to be there during the summer months. So, any time through that peak of the breeding season for the seabirds, so that they're around the island. So November through March is when we would expect all the seabirds that come back to the Chatham Islands to be around, and I'd say any time within that period of time is my pick of the best time of the year to visit the Chathams.
Okay, and people are asking if we will post a recording. Yes, we will be sending out a recording link to this, and it will be posted up on our YouTube page, so that will come out shortly. And Shona Ritter was asking, do mainland New Zealanders need a permit to visit the Chathams?
Oh, a permit to visit the Chathams? No. Shona, you're all okay. You're allowed to make your way out to the Chathams, and they definitely will know that you're not a local, but you are very welcome and able to travel out to the Chathams.
Do you have any tips for people that might want to try and blend in while they're there, or it's just an impossible task?
But they'll know straight away that you're not a local. Going with the flow and making the most of every opportunity is the best that you can do when you're out in the Chathams.
Okay, and what are the best places to see /photograph birds from Ren Bowie?
So in terms of the bird life, some of those reserves, which for the land birds, so we look to visit down to that south coast area, to the Awatotra, when we're there on one of our expedition voyages. Those areas which are protected definitely give the best opportunity for the land birds, and for the seabirds, it's really those outer islands. So places where the albatross are breeding, closer to the colonies, you are far more likely to see the albatross at sea and the other seabirds of the islands. Places like Southeast Island are excellent for the short plover and the oyster catcher. We zodiac cruise along those coastlines and are able to get great views and photographic opportunities from the zodiacs for those species, and even things like the Forbes parakeet at Mangere. Mm-hmm. We see those from the zodiacs when we're able to cruise around the coast of Mangere.
And the black robin, is that a likely or a
black
luck bird?
Black robin's definitely a luck bird. I have seen it from the zodiacs, but I wouldn't consider it to be a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a possibility.
Other endemics, they're very good.
Yeah, most of the other endemics, the black robin's definitely up there with the most challenging. The most challenging of all, I would say, is the Chatham Island snipe from a zodiac. But most of the other birds, you have pretty good chances, and time spent out on the water gives you the best opportunities for things like the Chatham petrel, the magenta petrel, and a lot of the other seabirds that are around the islands as well.
Yeah, the Chatham, the snipe in general is quite a hard bird to.
Snipe's a difficult bird at the best of times, but just to give you the gold standard of hardest things to see, and then everything gets easier after the snipe. Okay,
and thank you, Rachel Ross. We're still on youth. We were trying to refresh the page to get the questions through. So, right, David Gray, how feasible is it for foreigners to take a heritage expedition cruise right now?
So, and unfortunately, if you're outside the New Zealand's borders, right now we don't have any magic wand to get you across the borders and into New Zealand. As much as we'd love to have you join us, it's a matter of what the restrictions are at the border as a result of the country's COVID response. We are planning we have our voyages planned through next summer, and we'll be exploring the Chatham Islands again, as well as all the subantarctic islands next southern summer, when we're hopeful that there will be easier access to New Zealand for those of you outside of our borders at the current time. And of course, we also have our season up in the Russian Arctic, which is an opportunity for some that aren't necessarily able to make it to New Zealand, but maybe can get their way north in the coming months as well.
Okay, and Laurie is asking, she's going on the Chathams next March. What are my chances of seeing erect-crested penguins?
So Laurie's on our voyage which visits the Antipodes and Bounty Islands as well as the Chatham Islands. So Laurie, your chances of seeing erect-crested penguins at the Antipodes and Bounty Islands are excellent.
That's the only place you probably.
That's the only place you can see them. So 100% of the world's population occurs on those and breeds on those two islands. Once you get up to the Chatham Islands, they only themselves. There's only the odd rare vagrant of the erect-crested penguins make their way that far north. Interestingly, the Chatham Islands actually had its own species of erect-crested penguin prior to human arrival. So it's gone extinct after human arrival. But you'll next March enjoy the Zodiac cruises around the Antipodes and Bounties.
Yep, and I think that answers Jared's question there, asking, will we see the Spirit of Enderby again? Yes. When she comes down next summer. Hilary Muir, do we walk about as we see fit?
So on the main Chatham Islands itself, there's lots of opportunities to get out and walk and explore. And during our upcoming Chatham Islands itineraries later in March, we've got a number of days during that time planned to spend time ashore, where there'll be walking opportunities on both the main Chatham Islands and also visiting Pitt Island. And there's a range of walking options. There'll of course be your expedition team there as well. A number of the smaller offshore islands are highly protected reserves, so we Zodiac cruise along those the coasts of those islands to allow us to appreciate them.
Cool. And a final question: do you often see whales and dolphins?
Whales and dolphins. So around the main Chathams, it's not uncommon to see dolphins. Just to the south of the pyramid, there's actually historically a significant whaling ground. So during the historic whaling period, the American whalers had a whaling ground, which was the Chatham Grounds, and they whaled extensively to the south of the main Chatham Islands. And so if anybody's on that voyage which visits the Antipodes, Bounties and Chatham Islands, we actually sail in through those waters, and that's a particularly good area for seeing a number of whale species in the deeper water, a little bit further to the south. When we're actually in around the coast of the Chathams itself on the upcoming voyages next month, we're in the shallower waters that are incredibly rich for that bird life, but the whales prefer the slightly deeper water. But the dolphins are quite happy coming in and exploring around the shallower waters of the Chathams.
And what else have we got there? It's just a reply there. There's some here that we can just go back to that aren't asking about the Chathams. So there's some questions here that aren't related to the Chathams, which we will answer online. So, yeah, I think we might be done. Let me just take one final check. Yep, that is it for the moment. If you do have a question, feel free to add it to the list and we will reply to them today. Thanks again for joining us. We will say our goodbyes again. Is it properly this time? We'll see you next time on Heritage Live.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks.